Got my chair. See my
Hopefully we've got
throne?
something.
Got
Okay,
the
we
chair.
are. We're
The
live.
chair. I don't know where we are. I'm like somewhere else.
We are in an undisclosed location where you can see Dallas over my shoulders. Um, our bandwidth here is so bad that I have to go completely off my phone. So just to let everybody know, I can't pull up super chats. I can't pull up shared screens. We're
Oh,
kind
that's
of
ridiculous. What are we doing?
limited in what we can
That's
do.
ridiculous, Hunley. Come on. You're the tech madman. You're Dr. Strangelove. Come on, Hunley. Pull it together.
Yeah. I am a freaking madman. You should see the. This is what we've been working on, trying to set up, and it has been
Whoa.
a complete disaster. And I'm going through my phone. So
Whoa.
good times. There's this thing called the internet and
Yes.
Wi-Fi, and it's miraculous when it works.
Right?
But when you can't get a freaking signal to save your life, well, you have my phone.
Right. Well, the phone is the last refuge of a tech madman.
Yes, or a initial refuge to make us go completely mad. But we're here. We made it to the conference. I actually did a short walk at Dealey Plaza earlier today using the 360 camera. So that way captured some footage to put up on YouTube where everybody can move it around and take a look at everything, on their own. So I thought that might be a cool deal.
Great. That's a great idea.
So that was my contribution on the day. The conference has started, completely packed up here.
What?
Oh yeah, there's people coming out.
Dude, what about that guy trying to get into the elevator last night?
Yeah, he was happy to see you, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, there's some strange people here. We got to be careful, Eric.
Yes. Jack Vage's hotel Wi-Fi is well dodgy. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I bet in the chat there are people who are watching us from here on their phones while we're doing this, and I hope they pipe up.
Okay. Well, I think maybe the Wi-Fi is good enough to talk, right? I mean, you don't have to bring up articles and super chats.
Well, I'm talking right now over the phone. I'm just using my phone bandwidth, and I can't really do anything with it. That's why I wanted to set expectations and let people know, because I don't have Rumble open. I don't have Locals open. I'm not able to see anything. Right. I'm just, we have to do a truncated show. We've got to cut this out, I believe, in less than an hour, because you've got to go do your tech setup for your next show of the day.
I'm on the road, bro. I'm doing one show after another. This is my Christmas season. It's JFK in Dallas. I got a lot of media coming at me all of a sudden. I mean, literally, I got other media calling me for interviews. I've got emails up the kazoo. I don't have a moment to breathe while we're here. So you and I will grab as many interviews of the creators from the conference as humanly possible. I'd like to get that kid who's the Tippett guy again.
Hey, he was just here. He was just in the room just a minute ago.
Obviously, Robert. I'd like to get Robert.
Paul. I saw Paul Blau.
Oh, okay. Paul Blau, the French dude, the French Canadian. He's got a new book. We'll grab whoever we can tomorrow and Sunday. But yeah. So I mean, we got all day tomorrow to grab people, and then we got all day Sunday where we could just do interviews.
Well, that's what I plan on doing.
Okay.
In between, whatever else. Well, we also have a show to put on tomorrow, so I have some tech to work out for that too.
Right. Okay.
I forgot. We're sort of part of this show too. I guess I'm
in the other department. I'm in another department. I've got people over here working around the clock doing other things, but you're in that department. So, all right. What happened this week? Let's get to what we're talking about, because I got to get out of here at 5:30 Eastern time.
Well, this may not be your interest, but it is part of our subject tomorrow, and that's AI. And Chat AI is part of what we're doing. I don't know if you saw, but Sam Altman just got fired from OpenAI literally minutes ago.
What does that mean? I saw that. What is that?
I don't know. I mean, OpenAI is ChatGPT, and that is the biggest thing out there. So it's kind of a precarious thing that all of a sudden the CEO, he's out, and I didn't even know there was a problem. I'm like, this guy was a superhero going around. Everybody knew him, loved him, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Sorry, tough shit. Goodbye.
Is he like the Musk of Tesla related to AI?
Well, quite literally, he worked with Elon Musk to create OpenAI. Yeah, Elon was one of the earliest investors.
That guy. Didn't
Yeah,
this guy eventually cut Musk off and not talk to him any longer? They used to have like a weekly chat, him and this guy.
could be. I don't know, but
Right. I vaguely remember that Musk had a relationship with him that was continuous up because Musk saw the fear of AI coming and wanted to talk to this guy and work it out
right.
week after week. And then this guy cut Musk off a couple of years ago, according to Musk, and that freaked out Musk because this guy was in that world.
Yeah, and I'm curious so because Musk has got his own X AI coming out now, which
Right.
supposedly, if you're a Twitter premium user or something, you're supposed to get access to see. But I'm not sure on that. I don't know, but I just find it an interesting thing. Elon Musk has his own issues to deal with this week.
Wow.
Apparently, he's liking tweets that are, or no, he made a statement about a tweet. I don't know the exact tweet. I can't pull it up, but about how Israel's finding out everybody hates their guts, da 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 da. And he was like, "This is the absolute truth," and
It's
he's
dark.
under a
It's
lot of
dark.
fire.
Dark, bro. I'm telling you, this is maybe the greatest thing that's ever happened to all of us in a positive way. I mean, the negative way is obviously the death and destruction and war and everything else, but it really is showing which side people are on in terms of democracy and actual real liberal tenets of democracy, and who's on the side of the Nazis. I mean, it's like I said, it's like 1936 in America again, you know, with Charles Lindbergh and Lindbergh flying over and endorsing Hitler. And a lot of people had to shuffle around in the mid 30s regarding the Nazis. And it seems strangely, we're going to do a show on it, Eric and I, on Jewish Gangsters versus the Nazis is the name of the show. And it'll involve Meyer Lansky and Kid Twist Rellis and the Jewish gangsters who were brought in by a judge, a New York judge, who realized he couldn't deal with this legally. So he went outside of his legal world. Guy's name was Nathan Perlman, who was a famous judge in New York. And he brought in Meyer Lansky. And he asked Lansky to take care of this. He was willing to pay him. And Lansky did it for free. He rounded up his boys, and they went to work on the Nazis in New York. And it's a very interesting story. It's going to be an episode on America's Untold Stories. But it's got strangely the same vibe today. Like I said on Twitter, I mean, the Nazis had a 20,000 person rally in Madison Square Garden in New York, the home of the New York Knicks. And they were marching down Fifth Avenue with Nazi flags. Remember the Hindenburg, Eric, when it blew up over New Jersey? A lot of people in New Jersey.
The humanity.
Right. That, what they didn't follow up on is the story we're going to get into later in the month, which is the funerals of the Nazi victims aboard the Hindenburg at the dock on the West Side Highway, where the U.S. Intrepid now is the aircraft carrier. At that docking space on the West Side Highway on the Hudson River, they had a funeral for the 26 dead Nazis with Nazi flags on their coffins on the ship, with all kinds of 5,000 German Nazi sympathizers giving the Sieg Heil to the coffins in New York City. Just so people know where that was at, it's got a very similar vibe to today with these pro-Palestinian Hamas Nazis. It really is a strange repeat of American history.
Yeah, well, the showdown you're talking about is not only on the left, by the way, because you have Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, and but I mean, you kind of had to see that.
I didn't see that coming. Did you? I didn't know anything about it.
Look, I think their relationship has been a problem ever since she was hanging out with Kanye West and he did his deep, off the rails bit. Right. So, in fairness, now I don't know if Ben Shapiro's acting too great in this scenario either.
But that's her boss, right, Eric?
Sort of. He's like an investor part owner in Daily Wire, but he's not the CEO or the boss. That's right. Jeremy Boring, your favorite screenwriter.
Oh, Boring's not the favorite one. The other guy's my favorite one. Boring's like a hack. There's a real
No,
guy.
I was being sarcastic.
Oh,
Clavin is I know Clavin's very good.
He's a real screenwriter. I don't know about Boring. I've never heard of him in terms of screenwriting, but Clavin's real.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Clavin's a real writer, but I thought they were boss worker, some sort of relationship where one was working for the other. I guess I'm wrong.
Well, it's Shapiro's the big star. I mean, it was created around him, and he's part owner, but I don't think he's really a business-oriented guy. Apparently, years ago, Boring was the front person, and Ben Shapiro was the back-end person.
I had no
but
idea.
somehow that flipped because Ben Shapiro was doing that show in L.A., built up some cred. I don't know, it was Salem Media or whatever, did the show. Then Daily Wire got created, but it got reversed where suddenly Ben Shapiro was the guy in front of the camera, and then Jeremy Boring took the other role. So
also Max Blumenthal was interviewing the world's leading Holocaust denier. You talk about strange interviews of people. I don't know who to root for, Max Blumenthal or the Holocaust denier. I mean, there are some strange matchups going on, Eric.
Yeah.
I mean, Glenn Greenwald losing subscribers like air out of a balloon now because, I mean, here's a gay Jewish guy rooting for Hamas and Palestine. I mean, you can't make this up. I mean, what planet? I mean, I knew he had these sympathies before. Everybody knew that. But we haven't heard Glenn Greenwald go off on people about Palestine and the situation in Hamas in a number of years. I mean, this guy is going to be hemorrhaging subscribers until this thing is over. This is going to settle a lot of old scores. A lot of old scores.
Yeah, and it's well, I mean, there's other.
There are people like Ratzo in New York, my former National Lampoon editor Ratzo, Larry Sloman. He's taking on all kinds of people, and this is a guy who hates Trump, loves Joe Biden, COVID, pro-vaccine guy, former writer for Rolling Stone, and a Dylanologist who wrote On the Road with Bob Dylan. A pretty famous guy as a writer. All of a sudden, he's taking on all comers, defending Israel, which Ratzo and I are very big defenders of the state of Israel. We're on the other side politically now. He never moved an inch off of his liberal roots. I have clearly, but here we are on the same Instagram feed, taking on anti-Semitic, pro-Palestinian Hamas people who know who Ratzo is. They kind of know who I am too, but there was Ratzo's page. So I was backing him up, but I'm just saying strange things are pushing people together and apart because of this major political upheaval.
Well, it's kind of like, we've had a few of those. I mean, honestly, COVID did that too. That put some. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I feel like COVID and the suppression and the mandates realigned everything, and this is just shuffling it all right back to where maybe it was before then.
The first realignment came with the election of Trump. People moved right. I mean, that's where it really started. It moved people who were liberals and leftists and everything else over to the Trump camp. There's many people like me, and now African-American males are moving over to that camp in droves. I mean, the former founder of BLM is endorsing Trump, a black dude out of New York. I mean, this is getting really, really weird.
Oh, yeah. Well, God, speaking of that, I saw actually a 30-second clip of all people who saying that they may vote for Trump now, Michael Rappaport.
I saw that. I mean, holy cow, has the sky fallen? Oh, Jesus.
The way he put it, though, I was like, no, it's really him. He's not being held hostage. That's him saying it because that was all Rappaport language. Oh, my God. So I have no idea.
Man, there are some. I mean, look at Jimmy Dore going after Biden and going after the liberal left of the Democratic Party. I mean, about Israel. As I said in previous episodes, if all three major political candidates, the independent Robert Kennedy, the Trump, and Biden, all support the state of Israel, where are you politically? Where is your group? If your three major candidates completely disagree with you as a political person, maybe the history of the world is passing you by, my friend, because you're in a tiny minority then.
Yeah, this whole thing is just.
How about that
I don't know.
RFK? You see the RFK tweet we were talking about? You sent me the
Oh,
one about Woody Harrelson telling him his father killed his uncle.
oh, dude. Okay, speaking of that, did you watch the Rob Reiner, or did you
No,
leave it to me?
I can't. You have to do that. I would kill myself. I can't do that. You're a stronger man than me, Hunley. I don't have the bandwidth for that.
It was right in line, man. It was right in line. And I'm just sitting here going, okay, well, first off, I think I pointed out to you, Vanity Fair had Alec Baldwin, Robert Reiner, written by
James
Robinault.
Robinault. Dude,
Yeah.
I predicted all of this, but it's so gloryful to see it actually happening. You know, despite I said that this guy Robinault was deep state. I said he was going to be holding hands to all these people. Now he's writing the articles for Vanity Fair. He's going to the JFK conference in Pittsburgh with Paul Landis, the 900-year-old Secret Service agent. I guess he'll be wheeling his oxygen tank around. So, like I said in episode over a month ago, he will be sewn at the hip with these people, taking them by the hand. This huge lawyer out of Chicago, who's a deep state attorney, James Robinault, whose roots go all the way back to who, Eric? Warren Harding? Yeah, to the Harding administration.
Yeah.
I mean, I am so happy to see this. It cheers my heart. Really does.
Well, good. It'll cheer you further because Reiner, of course, brought up Paul Landis,
right,
or in the interview with Carolla,
right,
and well, of course, he completely bypassed Sam Kinney. Sam Kinney never existed, Mark.
Never existed.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Gone. Yep, sorry, that's a rumor. So yeah, he talked about him.
Eric's referring to the other Secret Service agent, Sam Kinney, who claimed 10 years before that he had also found the magic bullet in the car. That's where they got the story from. Sam Kinney passed away, the nurse passed away, everyone passed away, and that left James Robinault and Paul Landis the avenue, the road, the gutter to operate on unimpeded with this storyline, hoping that no one like me would ever find the fact that Sam Kinney, and Vince knows this too, Palomara. We talked about this when it came out, and Palomara had interviewed Sam Kinney about finding the magic bullet 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Now, of course, guess what the intro premise is from Rob Reiner? That
what? Trump did it.
Obviously, Oswald did not act alone.
Right.
So there's the chip.
I told you. And to the people
wrapped
at home,
up.
to the people at home, about 10 years ago, they started to move the goalposts about Oswald being the lone assassin. And the goalpost was moved to where Oswald was part of the conspiracy, that he did not act alone, but he acted with others. It was a very subtle move, but all the JFK researchers, or most of the ones, at least I did, saw the move begin to happen about 10 years ago. And now, if you read any mainstream publication, it'll say that, a lot of people believe Oswald did not do it alone. They put that phrase in. In fact, a woman in locals yesterday said to me that the House Assassinations Committee in 1976 found that Oswald did not act alone. And I said, they never said that, honey. They said there was a conspiracy to kill the president. They never said Oswald acted alone or did not do anything. She put that in there, and she apologized. I mean, I don't blame her. It's in the zeitgeist now, which is why they keep hammering and moving this thing as best they can to keep the public off of their backs. That is the intel agencies I'm referring to.
Yeah, and it's subtle and it's working.
Yeah, I mean, when you are running Rob Reiner's social media for 10 years, when Rob Reiner turns over his millions of followers to the CIA, as did Moby. Moby said that in an interview on the radio. The musician Moby I'm talking about, he turned over his social media after Trump got elected to the CIA, and he's proud of it. Reiner did the same thing, but the phone call came to the fat fuck that he's going to have to get off his ass and do something for 9/11 for November 22nd, the 60th anniversary. And he said, I don't really know anything about that. And they said, don't worry, we'll hook you up and you'll do a media tour because we've been paying and giving you media money for 10 or 5 years since Trump got in. And now it's time to pay the piper, fatty. And now Rob Reiner's got to dance, do the puppet dance from his puppet masters. Baldwin, I don't know what his angle is, other than he plays Hunley in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which I was watching last night here in the hotel, and I just was cracking up every time they called him Hunley. It was just made my day.
Well, and that's perfect segue, because I was going to get a Baldwin anyway, who apparently the grand jury met yesterday. I don't know if they did generate charges on him or not. Wow. But that unreleased video came out this week that I sent you.
That was a great thing. I mean, he's just spraying bullets all over the place, Eric. I mean, you see his hand motions when he's coming out of that shack?
I did, but I did see a couple things that were interesting. Like one, he looked up and said, "Helena, get out of the way."
Oh, that was dark. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it, but it was like, so he was cognizant of people and angles and things like that. I'm kind of like,
It reminded me of the story of the Cowboys that Mark Rydell told me about John Wayne. In his first movie, he goes and he's up in a giant crane out in the Mojave Desert, and the kids are down below. If you see the movie The Cowboys, John Wayne has to move cattle across Texas with a bunch of young cowboys because everyone else has been told not to work with him. So he is down on day one, John Wayne, and he starts directing the kids, telling them where to stand and where to block. And Mark Rydell, up in the crane, 900 feet in the air, says, "I am the director of this picture, Mr. Wayne." And he looks down. This is Mark Rydell on Golden Pond, Academy Award winner years later, good friend of mine, worked together. He looks down, and there's John Wayne shaking everyone's hand, the ADs, the PAs, the kids. And he gets in a car and drives out of the desert. And he's finished, Rydell. His career's over. His agent calls him up and says, "What the F did you do?" And he says, "I'm so sorry." He starts crying, lives in Marina Del Rey, gets a phone call. It's John Wayne. And he says, "Meet me at Dan Tanner's, Rydell." He goes to Dan Tanner's, the bar on Sunset. And he goes in, he goes, "What the hell was going on out there, Rydell?" And he goes, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Wayne. I didn't know what I was doing." And he says, "Rydell, you got some set of balls. Now let's get back out in that desert and make a goddamn movie." And he goes out and he makes the movie The Cowboys with John Wayne. What Alec Baldwin was doing in that video, he was directing that movie. And there was no other director. He was blocking. He was telling the camera where to go. He was John Wayne in that picture. And I found that to be fascinating, considering the director is relatively new, the second or third picture. And Helena is the DP. He's telling her where to point the camera, right?
Yeah, and that director worked with Baldwin before, so it might have been the same basic setup. You might even have friends who could confirm if they have that kind of relationship.
I do. I have people who've worked with him before, that director.
But that's anyway, I found that interesting. But then that shifts over to our other person charged, or the only person actually charged for sure, Hannah Gutierrez Reed. Somebody sent me an article. They're adding another charge to her.
Okay, well, you see her in the video, by the way. She attempts to run into the scene to grab the guns, and Baldwin brushes her away. Get out. And he continues his gunplay, despite her professional attempt to run in there and take the guns, which you're supposed to do. He is rolling around like a kid, the age of 11, playing Cowboys and Indians in his backyard. If you look close, that's essentially what he's doing.
True.
It's fairly reckless, Eric. Fairly reckless.
Sure. Well, not that she's a paragon of responsibility here.
No. Right.
She has got another charge.
When you have a guy who's done 100 films and a girl's done 2 or 3, and you're directing the film, that tape was so damaging. If they show that to the grand jury, he'll be indicted by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Well, of course they're showing it to him.
I know.
But I mean, what are you talking about? I know. Anyway, but she is getting charged. She's getting charged for a weapons violation in a liquor store, apparently. So something completely separate from I guess.
Oh, that's desperate. Okay, so they're going to try to flip her to go against him. That's what this.
I thought they might already have, because honestly, I was like, what would be a better reason than to drop charges against Baldwin leaving her completely on her own. Like, you're out there. It's all you now.
Well, think about it.
Are you going to give us information? No, I'm just saying it would be smart to get her to flip.
Think about it from a real prosecutor world. Do you want to be the guy who convicted Hannah Reed Gutierrez and brag about it? And everybody's going, who? Yeah, I convicted a 22-year-old pot smoking gun girl. Or do you want to flip her to go for big game hunting, that being Alec Baldwin? That's in a perfectly non-political prosecutorial world, that's how this game is played.
No, that's true. That's true.
Right.
She is hardcore, though. I could see her wanting to go after anyone. That includes me.
Right. No. I think the political gloves have come off now. I don't know what happened. I think the original DA was political, and this thing got too big and too hot for her to handle. And she said, you know what? I'm not that kind of progressive. I know I said that to get the George Soros money, but this is scaring the shit out of me politically, and I'm getting out of this freaking mess and bringing in a real prosecutor. I'm vaguely sensing that.
Well, that or just why not bring in somebody else? Because then she can keep taking the money and doing whatever else.
She brought in the woman that we originally knew, who ran for office, and the Republican woman. That was her original move. Mm-hmm. That fell apart because of Baldwin's attorneys. And now I think she just brought in a hardcore prosecutor.
Yeah, and this one's not a lightweight because obviously it keeps going and going, escalating.
Right. No. She went after you. I think she finally backed off. You know, she took a look at Nate the lawyer, and then she shit her pants. And then tip of the hat to Nate. But whatever. I think she is like a junkyard dog now, and she's going after Hunley, not you, Hunley. Hunley from Rogue Nation, MI6.
There's too many crossovers.
There's too many Hunleys here.
No, and he's in too many damn movies too, because he's in with Helena's father and Hunt for Red October, and
right. You talk about art imitating life. I mean, especially this hotel, which is completely crazy.
Yes.
I have a frame with a paintbrush over
my
do too.
Head.
You have that also, right? I have this chair over here from Alice in Wonderland back here. I mean,
yeah, I've got one. I have a chair similar with a giant Pixar lamp coming down over.
I'm using that to light the show right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm lighting the show with that giant lamp.
The lamp is insane. This whole place is nuts.
It's like pretty cool, Alice in Wonderland hotel.
Did you go outside when I was outside looking up?
I'm afraid.
Well, they have like this scaffolding, and it makes me think of what was the other place that they wanted Kennedy at, with all the tracks going around?
The trademark.
It reminds me of like the trademark part outside. I'm looking up. My friend dropped me off, and I look over and I see this guy sitting on the edge of that scaffolding, looking somewhere. Like, what the hell? And then there's all these other bodies hanging all over the place, and then I realize, oh, these are statues. So before you even go into those, it's so freakish. That freaked
me out last night when I pulled in. Yes. I didn't get here until 10 o'clock last night. Hunley was in the bar fending off fans or something. I don't know what he was doing in there. But I looked up on top when we pulled in with the Uber guy, and I went, what are those people doing up there?
Yeah, it's a very cool place, but this is cutting edge. And then it's got those lights that are just kind of going up and down, pulsing. Weird,
let's get back to Robert Kennedy, because he's been in the news all week. This is a big week for him because he is going to try to capitalize on media-wise on the November 22nd 60th anniversary. So he came out with a tweet saying that Woody Harrelson, a source of complete factoids, Woody Bong Harrelson told him that his father, Charles Harrelson, was one of the shooters. This is a story that's been debunked so many years ago. Originally, it was the Three Tramps, that Woody Harrelson was one of the Three Tramps. I mean, there's a documentary you can watch on Woody Harrelson with Geraldo Rivera, by the way. Geraldo Rivera does a whole segment on Woody Harrelson, Woody Harrelson's father, which you can watch. The only thing that interests me, I've known this story for 20 years about Charles Harrelson. Charles Harrelson was a gun for hire. He did kill a federal judge.
Yep.
He did do time. He was a drug addict. He was a bullshit artist. When he was in prison, he attracted attention by saying I was one of the shooters on the grassy knoll. So it was one of the anniversaries, maybe the 20th anniversary or the 10th. I forget what it was. So anyway, there was some media heat on him for a moment in prison. One of these James Files types things. Well, if you let me out, I'll tell you where the bodies are buried. So he later recanted this, and also regarding him being one of the three tramps, that was later debunked by a husband and wife couple, two reporters from the Houston Chronicle, who put out a book in 1992 after having done gumshoe journalist reporting and finding the three tramps. I'm going to say that again. They found the three tramps. It's not G. Gordon Liddy. It's not Mel Torme. It's not Charles Harrelson. It's
not George Bush.
Not George Bush. It's three
or Hunt.
Or Hunt. It's actually three actual hobos. And in the book, I forget the couple's name. It's Someone Should Have Talked, or I forget the name of it. Anyway, in the book, they find them and they go into their background of what they were doing there on the balls of their ass. But getting back to Charles Harrelson, he is trying to make some noise, RFK Jr., and attract some media desperately for his presidential campaign, which is just floating around in space somewhere on the USS Enterprise. I'm not sure what direction it's going in, but this Charles Harrelson, Woody Harrelson thing, the best thing about the Woody Harrelson story is not that his father was Charles Harrelson, it's that his mother was named Oswald. His actual mother, the first wife, who's the mother of Woody Harrelson, is Marjorie Oswald. And nobody finds this to be bizarre except me, because I found this out 20 years ago. She got divorced and then she remarried when Charles Harrelson was in prison. But his mother is named Oswald, and he's got to be related. Texas, Louisiana. Oswald's father died soon after he was born. And this is the Oswald clan. I just find that fascinating. RFK hasn't stumbled onto that yet, but after this show, I'm sure he will.
It gets better than that. Matthew McConaughey actually came out, and I believe I've got it right, but he was talking about it, how his mother saw Woody Harrelson and Charles Harrison and said, well, apparently McConaughey's mother had a thing going with Charles Harrelson. Well, and there is a possibility that
no.
Don't they remind you of each other?
Yes, they always have. They're very similar.
And I thought I've always been like almost confused. Now in True Detective, it was amazing to see them acting together, but I'm like, God, they always reminded me of each other. And then McConaughey has said that his mother's like, well,
I pitched a project at McConaughey's company, and it was to the head of his company. This was many years ago. And it's run by his best friend that he grew up with, who is a spitting image and completely just like him. So I thought it was McConaughey, but it wasn't. It's his best friend who runs the McConaughey company. So I remember that like 15 years ago. That's weird.
Yeah, not only Oswald has doubles.
Wow. Anyway, people seem to like the Robert Webster thing. I mean, that's a strange story we did.
Yeah, that is. Oh, wait, one more thing on Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
It's kind of refreshing to see. I think he's imploding. I think he
so
may be self-destructing. So good news. It's like, okay, I didn't see that one coming. He was obviously damaging to Trump, but I have to give it to it. He can blow himself up too.
Dude, that's why I said the Starship Enterprise. I don't know where this campaign is going, to another galaxy. And he fired the only logical guy who knew how to run a campaign, and that's Dennis Kucinich out of Ohio. He was fired because of Amaryllis Fox was brought in through the CIA back channels to run his campaign. I know you're squawking over there, you RFK supporters, but try explaining to your family that a CIA agent is running the campaign, your precious presidential campaign of RFK Jr., with his new ideas, with his bold initiatives, and his old CIA agent running his political campaign. I have not heard anybody come up with a rational explanation of this situation that we've created and done an episode on. They have never even answered the question.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the RFK folks can hang out with the DeSantis folks and they can fall into depression
I know.
together.
Well, I mean, I was surprised that Trump was spending $29 million of hard-earned campaign raised money on negative ads to DeSantis. This is what I was talking about. The fact that the campaign of Trump is now having to, based on their logic or their ideas, to have to spend $29 million to drive a stake into the heart of this semi-dead dog. But that's why these candidates are damaging to Trump. It damages him on raising money, and it damages him now on spending money. And Biden is having a big laugh about it because he's not spending any money on anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it works well. Apparently, though, he's not spending money on speaking or giving speeches either.
No.
I saw a headline. I didn't get a chance, but I guess he gave up halfway through his speech earlier today.
Who, Biden?
Yeah, I guess he just was done. I don't know.
How about the victory celebration of the Communist Chinese Party when they took over San Francisco this week and brought their flags into San Francisco? Thousands and thousands of Chinese Americans cheering the brutal dictator from China showing up in their city. I never remembered my relatives doing that when the Bund marched in New York or when the Russian ambassador came to the UN. My relatives did not go out into the streets of New York with Russian flags kissing Khrushchev's ass. And I said on Twitter that if the Castro brothers ever showed up in Miami, I doubt that the people in Miami would be raising Cuban flags. They would tear these two men to shreds. But here were these Chinese loyal Americans in San Francisco with Chinese flags, bowing down and cheering the premier of China, one of the most brutal dictators in the world. And nobody seems to have a problem with this. And China is now in the sphere of influence. And I said this 4 years ago. China in the northwest of the United States is now becoming part of the sphere of influence of the Communist Party of China.
Yes. And did you notice that Red Dawn was trending? Because it literally looked like a scene out of Red Dawn.
I've been saying this to you
America.
for 4 years. I've been saying this to you for years. The Chinese are going to take the northwest region of the United States. It's not going to involve bullets, but at some point there are going to be military hardware rolling down the 5 freeway on the West Coast. It's just a fact, my friend. I mean, this demonstration of Chinese power in San Francisco on the West Coast was one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen, and analogous to the Nazis marching on Fifth Avenue in 1936. I mean, if people can't see this, the whole reason for the show, America's Untold Stories, is to bring these old stories to the front and show the comparisons in American history to today. And this thing is exactly the same. Well, it's not exactly the same, Mark. No, it's exactly the same. And if you don't see the comparison, obviously it's not exactly the same. But if you can sense what I'm getting at, you'll understand that we're in a huge ball of shit.
Oh, yeah. Did you see the meme, though, of, was it Ping or whatever, behind Biden with the key, like a wind-up?
As his puppet master?
Yeah, how he's behind him, and there was like a giant key behind Biden, like he's a wind-up toy.
Well, he is a wind-up toy. I mean, it is a wind-up toy, isn't it? I mean, what is going on over there in San Francisco? I mean, obviously, that's where big tech is. This is what they want to take over. Sure. This is the nerve center of American power right now. It's not an auto factory in Detroit anymore. It's now Silicon Valley, which is why the head of China went to Silicon Valley to see where his operation is going. There's millions of Chinese in every single country in the world now. People don't realize what's going on. They passed a law in China 2 years ago that if you're a student in America or a student anywhere, and there's plenty of them at USC and at UCLA, every 2 months, you have to report to the Chinese embassy in that city and tell them what you've learned or seen. That's called spying, my friends. And the fact that they're paying USC money for tuition, I don't give a rat's ass. The fact that they passed that law in China, making the students, quote unquote, go to the Chinese embassy and report every 2 months to tell them what they've learned is enough for me to jettison every single one of them from the land called the United States. They have to leave. You can't stay here and report to a foreign power what you've learned by spying inside the city that you're in this case, Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, and if the students weren't doing it, they already have enough professors on payroll who are doing it willingly. I mean,
but they started to catch the professors about 5 years ago, right? The FBI, if you remember, they started to pick off a few of these Chinese professors and put their feet to the fire. So the Chinese doubled down and went with the student spy army. This is nothing. This is separate from the Confucius schools and the police stations in New York and L.A. Chinese police stations. People, this is about having a army of student spies all over America. Go figure.
Yeah, no, totally agree, and it's going to run rampant. There's lots of other countries they can infiltrate.
Right.
So.
Well, as I said, they have about 1 million people in every single country in the world. And this is a sleeping army, not sleeper cells. This is the sleeping army of people who, as we've seen, I saw this in LA 15 years ago, maybe been 12 years ago, when the head of the Communist Party of China showed up in LA. And I thought, oh, it's going to be interesting. I didn't think anything of it. They lined the 405 bowing down to him in ceremonial robes. And I thought I was in an HBO bizarre miniseries when I saw it 15 years ago. And I never forgot that. They bowed down to this guy. And I thought, what immigrant group that came to this country still supports the dictator of the country they freaking left? Tell me that, Eric.
No, I agree. And the problem with it is even deeper because their culture is all about face and optics. So converting American streets into a victory parade optically
that's what it looked like.
Gigantic for them. I mean, that's propaganda. I mean, that is real life propaganda they can ram down forever. It also gets us used to the idea. Oh, well, yeah that's what the Chinese do. We just line up.
There's going to be a day when they're going to roll military hardware in a parade down that street in America. They're going to say it's a parade. Sure, we added a couple of pieces on the back of the parade. Yeah, we added a rocket, maybe a rocket that goes to the moon. They're going to try to bring in some sort of military. I mean, they used to.
It'll be part of the Raytheon or some military contractor, and it'll be celebrating the fact that we sold them 100 tanks or whatever.
Right.
And blah, blah,
everybody thinks they're going to come with guns and bullets. That's not their game. That's not their game. Their game is numbers, overwhelming you with sheer volume of human flesh. That's their superpower. And we just go, hey, come on in, open up a Chinese laundry. You look all right. Hey, Wang, you got any Chinese food? I mean, we don't seem to have a bone in our body that could see through crap. We're so welcoming, to everyone. Just, hey, come on in. Who cares? Let's go. Oh, you still love the Chinese dictator? Oh, it's okay.
Well, part of it too is culturally, again, they're very different. A lot like the Middle East. There's a saying in the Middle East that never let the camel get his nose inside the tent.
Right.
And by that, they don't think in terms of like us. Oh, what are we going to do in the next 4 years? What are we going to do for 2024? What are we going to do for 2028? They're thinking about 2050.
Yeah.
They're thinking about their grandchildren. That they think
in advance. It's not all Asian people. Ask the Vietnamese in LA what they think of communist Vietnam, and they'll spit on the ground. It's not culturally Asian. It's specifically Chinese and Chinese Americans. That's right, fuckfaces. I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out right now on this show. These people who are bowing down to this dictator in communist China with Chinese flags. How about getting the FBI instead of going into Catholic churches, going into their goddamn places and see what the hell's going on in there? Do some goddamn real work, the FBI.
True.
It's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
All right, so what's our next news topic?
I don't know. I don't have it.
I can't pull anything
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just ranting on about this Chinese thing. It's driving me crazy.
It's going to continue.
Well, the woman in New York, the governor of New York, signed a bill completely expunging and hiding any criminal record you may have had as a criminal in the state of New York. Now, I pointed this out when they first did it with marijuana. This is from Normal. This is from Nadelman and all his group. Beginning with marijuana, they expunged your criminal record. Now, she signed a bill expunging the criminal record of murderers, Eric, in the state of New York. You cannot now know if your renter is a murderer, if he is a serial killer, if he was a rapist, if you're an employer, you're not allowed to know. This is where we are, folks. This is where we are. You're now there. All of their records are now blocked from the American people knowing that they were murderers, not people who smoked weed with your crazy theories that all these people are in jail for possession. Now it's become, as I predicted it would be, a slippery slope. Once you block the criminal access to the records for weed, it became murderers next. And that's where we are in New York, and it's going to spread across the country.
Well, this gets even worse because it's okay. Let's say you have a series of crimes going on. I'm not going to go all the way to murder even.
Well,
and you go, is there anybody in the area who happens to enjoy that particular crime or have a history of it? And now that's buried. So you can't even look at past criminals to maybe give you a hint when a kid gets murdered or somebody gets murdered. And then how's this going to work if somebody in Virginia, people move to Virginia from New York, let's say, and they are convicted murderers, the records expunged, and maybe some crimes start happening in Virginia. And Virginia's like, oh, look, there's a clean record. Can't be them.
Well, how about you rent a room in your house? And the guy's a pedophile or a murderer, and your family I'm not allowed to know. The guy shows up. How much is the rent? I'm James Brown, and I'd like to rent a room. How about that? You think that helps the American public? You think that helps the American public or helps the criminal? Because they're constantly on the side of the criminal. The American criminal must be their voting base because they cannot stop doing enough for the American criminal.
Yeah, and you go, why? And you're like, well, they can't even vote technically if they're a felon unless they get turned around. So there has to be another alternative, or another motive. So one would think, okay, so I guess the motive is the deliberate corruption of America, or to weaken the culture.
That's probably it. There were 4 prisoners in D.C. who were running for political office last year in D.C. from prison, and it was completely legal. 4 of them running for various political offices. One was running for the school board, another one was running for some other abstract issue office, and another one's running for city council from prison, because that's who you want as your leaders in society. You want convicts in prison running this country. That's how bad it's gotten.
Yeah, it's frustrating. As hell. Okay, so what's the movie of the week?
The movie of the week is obviously Rogue Nation with Hunley and Alec Baldwin playing Hunley, and everybody goes rogue. They still haven't released the new one, which came out in the theaters in July. So I've gone back into the catalog to see the other Mission Impossible movies. So the last one, I guess, is Rogue Nation. Before this one's getting released anytime now. The one from the summer, the new one. But this is the last one that you could see on. The next to last. I take it back. There's one after this, but you could see the origins of Hunley and the CIA, and Jeremy Renner is in this one. There's an incredible motorcycle chase that'll scare the living shit out of you with Tom Cruise on a motorcycle. There's a reason this guy wants to die on a movie set. Because the things that he does in this movie, Rogue Nation, are the most terrifying things I've ever seen an actor ever do. And it's him. It's him on that motorcycle, people. There's no way to fake this. There's a reason he gets all that money. Unfortunately, he gives part of it to Scientology, but that's his problem. I would say Rogue Nation is the way to go. And you see, every time they say Hunley, I just crack up laughing, and it's Alec Baldwin. I mean, you can't make this shit up. You can't make this.
No,
up.
You can't. Well, I think Adam Carolla said that he thinks that Tom Cruise has a clause in all movie contracts that there has to be a scene on a motorcycle with his helmet off.
He must have fulfilled that contract here. Now, I just want to plug this thing we're doing Wednesday the 22nd, which is the AI thing that Hunley referenced earlier in the show. This is going to be part one of the Oswald miniseries, which is 5 parts. It's going to be 2 hours of the incredible work that Hunley and his people over there in his workshop have been doing with the AI voices. I listened to it this morning, and it's terrifyingly accurate. I mean, these are I listen to me. I listen to myself as the narrator.
How do you like that, by the way?
Dude, it was terrifying. I go, when did
I'm working on
this?
replacing you, man. I mean, it's like, you don't have to show up. We'll get you animated, and we're good to go.
I almost fell off the couch this morning listening to it for the first time. And I said, did I record this? And it sounds exactly like me. I almost took a dump in my pants. And Oswald sounds like Oswald. Everybody sounds like everybody. November 22nd, Wednesday, 12:30 Central Time. Remember, I said the word Central Time. It's going to be Texas, Dallas time when the first shot rang out. It's going to be on locals. It's going to be on Viva and Barnes. It's going to be on Barris. It's going to be on some other locals. You have to pay actual money to get this. You will receive a PDF of the script. It's not going to be insanely pricey. It's priced to move. It's going to be reasonable. It's going to be, involving locals memberships, different buying opportunities to do this. I strongly urge you to watch this on Wednesday, November 22nd. We've been working on this for a long time, and it's going to be quite earth-shattering when people hear this. You will get a copy of the script. You could follow along at home with the words that you're going to hear acted in a scripted audio drama, complete with Foley, sound effects, images, music. It's freaking insane. So I strongly recommend when Hunley puts up the links to purchase that at that time, which will be, I don't know, Tuesday or Monday or Wednesday, whatever it is.
Yeah, as soon as I can get it in there.
As soon as we can get out of Dallas and start to do that, we'll do that.
Yeah,
but yeah, I just can't tell you how huge this event is with the Oswald scripts. This is the ones that I wrote with Oliver Stone that Hollywood didn't seem to have the money for at the time. This is a better way to do it anyway. Although I would have liked Oliver to direct it, no doubt about it. But this is the next best thing. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, for now, and it doesn't rule out anything ever happening in the future. It could generate interest, and
absolutely,
obviously.
Absolutely. But this is going to be the most unusual and original November 22nd, 60th anniversary project out there. The phony documentaries are going to roll out on Nat Geo. They're going to roll out on the History Channel. Don't waste your time, people. They are a complete crock of shit. They're going to say revelation, shockingly new. It's all bullshit. Check out what we're doing on November 22nd at 12:30 Dallas time, and you'll see the truth for the first time. It may be too late for justice, but it's never too late for the truth.
Fair enough. Now, while we're on that note, any recent books or the most recent book you might recommend for people to be reading right now, getting ready for
I got to get out of here, but the book I would recommend the most is covering a lot of stuff. People have asked me, if you could read one book, it's Jim Marrs' Crossfire, one of the great storytellers from Dallas, the original Jim Marrs. If you could read his book, which was the other half of the JFK movie, Oliver Stone option, not only On the Trail of the Assassins, which was the Jim Garrison book, people don't remember that he also optioned and purchased Jim Marrs' book, Crossfire. And that's the one I'd recommend because it covers a lot of stuff in easily digestible small chapters. So for a complete panoply of the assassination, go with this book because it's a lot of material is covered. It's footnoted. There's a lot of pictures and everything else. That's the book I'd recommend. One book, if it was one book.
Okay, now you're about to head out. City of Allen TV on YouTube. I don't know if it's going to be a live stream or not, but I'm pretty sure they will upload the video at some point. But you're going to be there within sound check probably within an hour.
Yeah, I gotta get it.
So a couple hours from now,
I'll come back.
I'll come back. So and
I'll come back here, and then
folks check it out.
Yeah, well, City of Allen has a long history of JFK assassination videos. The Grover Proctor one is my favorite, about the final phone call of Oswald from the jail cell to Raleigh, North Carolina, which is one of the best ones I've ever seen. There's a whole mess of JFK There's also some bad ones, some low and nutter ones in there. But he mixes it up, Tom, the guy who runs the thing in the library. It's a first class operation. So
All right,
I'm
well,
really happy. I'm really excited to get over there.
perfect. We're going to wrap it up now. I'll see everybody on Tuesday who's not here at the conference, and we will be doing a JFK Q&A right before the big day. So, bring your questions, the ones
Yeah, anything.
burning.
If I don't know the answer, I'm just going to say I don't know the answer. I have no dog in the hunt. I mean, I know some things, I don't know other things, but whatever you got, bring it on. Bring it on.
All right. So until then, hey, good luck tonight, man.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Huntley.